Hi, guys. Welcome. So, this week I have a special guest. Her name is Nikki Moore. She's a fellow Ohioan turned Los Angelino, and she has a spooky story to share with all of you. So, she shared snippets with me, but in this interview, I really dive in deep with her, and she explains a little bit about how she believes that she opened up herself through a Ouija board to a spirit who is still following her today. So she explains all of that. We cover it all, and also some other spooky places. So we cover the Mansfield Reformatory, which is outside of Columbus, Ohio, along with the good old Queen Mary in Long Beach. So we cover a lot, including a little bit on aliens at the end, and I'm sure you guys will love it. Hi, Nikki. How's it going?
Good, Tim. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to talk to you. How's your quarantine?
It's a little rough, but I'm trying to make the best of it. So I'm gonna be going home pretty soon, see some people, try to get like the good vibes back in.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's been weird for all of us, but I'm so
Really
excited.
much exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. And you're in California, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
So Santa Clarita.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to speak with you.
No, for sure. Me too.
I feel like we have so much to cover and to talk about. We've had like a lot of great um mini adventures together, and I know that you have like so many more of your own that you want to share. So I'm so
Yeah,
excited to get into it.
me too.
So if you want to start off from the very beginning and just sharing a little bit on kind of your journey and if you've always had some different experiences or felt energy, anything like that, I'll let you take it away.
All right, great. When I was little, I was definitely sensitive to certain things, but never to the point of seeing like a full body apparition or hearing a full sentence. But I guess it was more oversensitive to the energy around me. If say like there was something like a dark energy, I could feel that, or um, a lighter energy, I could feel that too, but I didn't understand it. Of course, when you're little, you get scared or you get kind of confused as to what's going on. You don't understand what you're feeling. So that's kind of how it started when I was small. I guess the first thing that I could remember was hating a specific room in my house. And I lived with my grandmother my whole life. And our house was about 300 years old. It is now today about 300 years old. It was one of the first houses in Mahoning County. Um, and I just always really hated this one room. I never wanted to go in it from the time I could remember. And when I got older, I found out that there was actually a tombstone that my grandfather had found in the yard, and he flipped it over and put it right outside of that room. I never knew that. So, I mean, I was kind of ignorant of him, I guess, but, back then they didn't really care. He found it in the yard and kind of just turned it over and used it as a stepping stone for the door leading
Ooh.
into that room. So to get into that room, you had to step on that tombstone.
So do you think it was a graveyard that was there?
Yes, for sure. The family that built that house, their last name was Beggs, Alexander Beggs, and his wife and children. They built that house, and she's buried there. She died when she was 19. Because I actually flipped the tombstone over to read it, and yeah, she died when she was 19.
Wow.
So I think that had a lot to do with what I felt in that room and what I continue to feel in that room to this day. I really still don't feel comfortable in there. Because I think it was complete disrespect to do that to somebody's, tombstone. And I think that energy was definitely residing to that. So that's like where everything first started. And pertaining to that specific room, my bedroom was right next to it, and it was being renovated when I was about 9. So I had to sleep in the spare room, which was that room that I'm talking about. We called it the blue room because everything was blue in it. And my grandma had like these little decorative head figures like on the windowsill, which are creepy to begin with. Like, why would you have those? Like, they almost looked like little gypsy heads. I don't know where she got them and why they were there, but they've always been there for as long as I can remember. And what I can recall is they would turn. Like, say I would go to bed, I'd wake up, they would be facing a different way. Like, little things like that. Stuff would move. That's the biggest thing that I can remember, is that stuff would just move. Like, I would set something down and it would move into a different spot, like an hour later, and no one touched it.
And when you were this young, did you think it was anything? Were you afraid, or it just didn't add up? It just seemed off?
It was more over, like, confusing, especially when I was little, because I would just be like, what the heck? Because I wasn't really raised to believe in the supernatural. I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised to believe there's a heaven, there's a hell, there's nothing in between. So at a young age, I didn't understand what was going on. But as I got older, and I mean, I'm sure social influence has a lot to do with, scary movies and scary books when you're young. It started coming together, but I still didn't register that that's what it was. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that I was thinking about is I didn't even realize that some of the houses in this part of Ohio went back that far. So how did you even research and get all of this knowledge?
Right. So this is actually really interesting. I got pretty obsessed with it when I was about 19, of the history of my house. One of our good family friends builds houses, and in our basement, the ceiling of the basement is actual trees, like long trees that were carved to make like the foundation of the house.
Oh, wow.
And he was doing like some remodeling on our house, and he had to go in the basement, and he came up and he was just like in awe. Like, he's never seen anything like that in his life. He actually told us, this house is the oldest house I've ever seen. Like, this is really interesting to me. If you don't mind, if you could find anything on it, because he builds houses for a living. Like, he just wanted to know like when it was built.
Yeah.
So I went to Wick Library downtown Youngstown, and they didn't have any record of my house.
What?
Like,
really?
They didn't have any census records. And my grandmother came down at one point and was like, well, then what am I paying property taxes on? If you don't have any record of my house. That's how old it was. So it just didn't make sense. I don't know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The exact, like, definition of, like, taxes or, like, how they figure that stuff out. But they literally had no record of the house. So then I went back to seeing the name on the tombstone and the last name Beggs. So I just went to Google and started Googling Beggs, Coatesville, Ohio. And Alexander Beggs comes up, and he owned most of the land in Coatesville and Lowville. And our house was his farmhouse that he built.
Wow.
So then I went to Wick Library and read up on him, and it talks all about him. He was a pretty prominent figure in Coatesville and Lowville and Mahoning County in general.
So now I can see why like 300 years of energy could all be like in that property and in that house.
Yeah, he was an immigrant from Ireland. He came over like right around the Revolutionary War.
Wow. And your family still owns it?
Yes. So I don't know when it fell out of his family's hands, but my grandmother purchased it in 1963, and it was actually condemned at that point. It was falling apart. The ceilings were like basically tarps, like just like falling completely out. There's no insulation. The insulation was walnuts, because back in the 17 and 1800s, they actually used nuts for insulation.
Wow.
And that's all it was still. So they had to completely gut it and do it from top to bottom.
I'd love to see pictures of all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, which I'm sure when, I don't know if you've heard of when you do like renovations and stuff, it stirs up
for sure.
energy.
And I'm sure even with some of the building materials that you mentioned, like the wood and all of that stuff, like from the trees itself, I'm sure some of that could even hold more energy along with it too. And
also, rumor has it, our neighbors have told us that they heard from their ancestors that after his family let it go, it turned into what it's called a stagecoach stop. So it's basically like a hotel. And when my grandmother bought it, there were 16 chimneys on the house because there were so many rooms in the house. It's huge.
16.
It's a beautiful house. And speaking of the wood, there's a tree in the woods of that house with carvings on it from like years and years. It almost looks Native American, to be honest with you, the carvings on the tree in the wood. So that just made me think when you said like wood and trees and energy, like who knows, maybe he had Native Americans working to build the house. Like, I don't know. You know, it just makes you think.
Yeah, that it could go back and tie in with what was going on that long ago, too.
Right.
So then what happened? Because I know when we talked about this before, I guess kind of like a Ouija board. I don't know if your mom...
Yes, that is probably the most traumatizing experience that I've had with energy. So when my mom was younger, my mom is, I would say, sensitive too, because she's always said that she's felt things, and especially for her in the basement, I guess, is where she's always felt things. I guess I never knew, originally Ouija'd in the house when she was about 14 years old. And she didn't tell me what she conjured. She didn't tell me her experience, but I found out because I did and experienced something through the board that was in reference to her.
Ooh.
So, to get into that whole spiel, I had friends over, and they are into this kind of stuff like we are, but they wanted to experience something, and I've already told them like stories and about how old the house is, and they begged me to Ouija there. I didn't necessarily want to touch it, but I'm like, yeah, you guys can, like, I don't care. So they were doing it, and at first, like, nothing's happening, and everyone's like laughing, it's stupid, but then it starts moving, and you know, naturally you go, oh, was that you? Was that you? And it got to the point where everyone was barely even touching it, and it was just going.
So
like,
you ended up doing it, or you just kind of observed?
I sat back.
Oh, so you weren't even doing it yourself?
It was my 3 other friends.
Okay.
And we did it in a room, the only room left in the house. It's called the furnace room upstairs. It's the only room left in the house with the original floors.
Oh, okay.
So we did it in that room, and it's like the most authentic room in the house still. Like, has the original floors, ceiling, walls.
So if any room was going to be haunted, it would be that one.
To me, yeah. And it's like you know, you hear furnace room. Like, it was just like the creepiest room that I could think of that like wasn't the basement. So it starts going, and at first it wasn't really making any sense. Like, it was just going to like random letters, random numbers. And that to me, it seemed to be like it was trying to conjure its energy. Like, it wasn't making sense, but it was trying to just move as much as it possibly could, you know, to try to like work up some type of strength,
right,
to certain questions.
Communicate.
So they start asking, who are you? And it still wasn't making sense. But then by like the 3rd or 4th time when they asked, who are you, it spit out Susan. Now, I don't know if you remember me telling you the name on the tombstone was Susan.
Oh,
Susan Pigs.
That's crazy.
They didn't know that. Like, I never told anyone the story about that tombstone, except for my cousin who wasn't there. So they had no idea the significance of that name. So I'm just sitting back, like, just in awe that that's the name that it picked. But I'm like, okay, maybe it's a coincidence. Like, maybe they're just whatever. And they asked, what's your last name? And it did spell out Biggs. Which, like...
What was going through you at that time? Because I feel like... I don't know.
At that point, I actually had asked them to stop. And they didn't understand why. And I'm like, you guys just need to stop. Like, I'll tell you in a minute. Like, I kind of need to calm down. And my friend Cameron at the time was like, no, like, I want to keep going. This is crazy. I'm like, all right. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen, you know? So they asked, why are you here? And it kept spelling out mom. M-O-M-O-M-O-M-O-M, which is also a common thing with Ouija boards. It spells out Z-O-Z-O-Z-O. Have you ever heard of that?
No. What does that mean?
Zozo. It's actually like a very known demon that comes through the Ouija board.
Ooh.
And also, if the spirit coming through the Ouija board like keeps repeating itself over and over again, I guess it's trying to come out of the board. Like, that's what I've read. That's what I've seen, like, on different types of documentaries and shows, that when it does that, or it starts counting down from 0, 9, 8, 7, 6, it's trying to get out of the board.
Like you said, building up, like, the energy to...
Exactly. So it kept spelling out mom, and they asked who's mom, and it went to NM, which are my initials. And they said, you're here because of Nikki's mother, and it said yes. So the last question they asked was, how many are you here? And it said 7. So
7 as in 7 people?
7 entities.
7
yes.
entities. Wow.
So at that point, they closed the board, which, if anyone listening happens to tamper with the Ouija board, I don't condone that. I don't think it's a good idea. Don't ever open a board and not close it out, because if you don't say goodbye, that energy can still be in your house. Like, you don't give it a chance to leave, if that makes sense.
So they didn't close the board?
They did close the board.
Oh, they did close it. Okay.
But so after, I told them all the information that I just told you, and all the history of that name and everything else, and they just, like, left. They were
left you alone in this house.
Yeah, and I was like, thanks, guys. You got your fix, and now I have to deal with it, type deal. But I don't really talk to my mom that much, but I was like, you know what? I need to know, like, what the hell this entity was talking about. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, like, why it said my mom. And then I asked her, and that's when she said that she Ouija'd there when she was younger. And it makes sense that it's there because of her, because she invited it in.
And it was still stuck there.
It was still stuck there, yeah. Yeah.
And that's crazy, knowing that you did this and you had no idea that she even had that experience until
exactly.
After.
I mean,
wow.
it's very surreal, and to skeptics, like, I just don't even know how you would even explain it, being that I wasn't even the one touching, the board. None of them knew any information.
I just got the chills from that, because that's like, that's kind of my biggest, I guess, question with it. I don't know, open to a lot of this stuff, but Ouija boards, I just heard a lot of bad things about it, and talking with you and just seeing it on TV and everything. But I just thought that if you weren't the one pushing it, that, you're almost safe. But in this case,
when you invite that kind of energy into your own surroundings, it can attach to you. It doesn't matter if you're the one touching, the planchette. It doesn't matter if you're in that room. If you're suscepting yourself to that type of energy, it could definitely attach to you, and it can follow you wherever you go if it's strong enough.
Yeah, and even with, like, the karmic ties, like, since your mom did it, maybe that's where the connection came from.
Exactly, which is maybe that's why I had sensitive feelings ever since I was little, because of, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a very complex situation. So after that, I always said that I always felt something in that house. But after that experience, it got extremely dark. I was dealing with sleep paralysis once a week, and I never experienced that in my life. And during these episodes of sleep paralysis, I would see dark energy, like dark masses, move around my room, and I couldn't move, couldn't speak. And I've read online, like, you tend to hallucinate during sleep paralysis because you're in a state where your mind is just, like, not under your own control.
Right.
Like, the chemicals in your brain are releasing things that can cause hallucinations.
Yeah, that's such a scary experience, because I've always heard so much about sleep paralysis, but I didn't know what it was particularly. So can you just describe the experience a little bit?
So in my experiences with sleep paralysis is I'm sound asleep. just like normal. And then every single time I woke up, I was on my back. Which, when I fall asleep or when I sleep on my side. When I woke up every single time, like I said, this happened very often for a while. For probably 2 months, it was like once a week that this was happening. I would wake up on my back, arms on my sides, and I had my eyes open, and I could look around, but I could not move or talk. And I would just see, like, out of the corners of my eyes, like, I would move my eyes as far as I can go to either side, and I still couldn't see exactly what it was, but I could see, like, a dark mass moving.
That's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. And then the worst episode I had probably was, it was above me, like, directly above my bed, and I couldn't move.
So how long after... When did you do the Ouija board? How long ago was it? And then how long ago did this stuff start happening?
It started happening almost immediately.
Wow.
Almost immediately, yeah.
So at that point, I guess, what was going through your mind? Were you, like, looking for a way to, like, kind of clear the energy, or...
Back then, I was in my early 20s then, so I didn't really know much about smudging or clearing, energy at all. My thing was, if you don't acknowledge it, then it's not there. That was, like, my logic, which isn't the best. I would just ignore it. I would sleep with the TV on. I would never just sit in the quiet. I would always have music on or, TV, or I just wouldn't be home. Like, I just wouldn't be home at all. I would just stay out.
Yeah.
But you can only avoid it so much. And then the only other answer I had was, again, I told you, like, I was raised, like, in a Christian house, was to go to my religion at the time, which was God. And I told my grandmother what I was experiencing. I didn't tell her necessarily why, because she would have an absolute mental breakdown if she found out that I Ouija'd in that house. Oh my God, I don't even know what she would do. She would probably call a priest, but which probably would be good. But I just told her that I was experiencing, like, dark feelings, dark energy, and she told me that I was suffering from demonic oppression, which is a very real thing. So demonic oppression, have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
It is the first step of demonic possession. So demonic oppression is when the demon's energy is trying to get your attention, trying to get your energy, trying to basically take over your energy, trying to take over who you are.
Like, before it has hold on you, it's like the first step, I guess. Before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when you start hearing things, seeing things, feeling things, some people will get scratches. Some people will, just hear, like, knocks. 3 knocks is very popular amongst demons. Like, they mock the Trinity, so anything in 3 scratches, 3 knocks, which I had heard sometimes too, not often. I didn't really hear that much, but when I did, I would just hear like someone was at the door. Okay, there goes my dog. She thinks someone's here. And she wasn't upset, because my grandma, like, doesn't fear stuff like that, because her faith is, like, so strong. And she just thought it was because I was getting older and, like, losing my faith, which is, like, her explanation of things. And I just want to be like, no, I'm just, fucking around with the Ouija board. Sorry. And she actually prayed for me and over me, which sounds very, like, weird. It sounds like culty, and it felt culty. But you know what? It stopped. It stopped.
Wow.
Like, after she did that.
That she was able to kind of clear it through prayer and through...
Yes. Like, whatever energy was attached to me at that point was gone right after she did that.
And you noticed, did you feel different? Or it was just kind of...
immediate, like, I just felt immediately lighter.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was crying, like, I couldn't even help it. I was just crying while she was praying. I was sobbing uncontrollably. And then as soon as she was done, I just felt better.
And you knew at that point that it was,
It was gone, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very weird. I mean, if I was unfamiliar with this kind of stuff, I would like probably listen to this and be like, okay, you're a weirdo. But that's my experience with it. That's what I went through, and it's really interesting because I kind of like, the older I get, I feel like all faith is kind of the same. Like whether you're a Buddhist or a Christian or whatever, you know, if you have good energy about you, then
right,
you can cleanse the energy around you using that, like whatever it is that you believe in.
it's more of like a universal energetic.
Exactly. So I think that's what happened. But I don't necessarily, I think that it definitely weakened whatever it was, but you know what? I don't think that it completely went away, because I think that it followed me to California.
So this really interests me. So what have you noticed recently, or what, I guess, made you think that it's still following?
Well, it started when I lived with your sister, and it was just little things, and it wasn't often at all. It was probably 3 separate occasions, but it was always either when I was alone or it was in my room. For example, it has like really always been around like the blinds, and you would think like, okay, central air, draft, whatever, but when you think of draft and you think of blinds, like they'll all moving in one area, or you know, one will create like a ripple effect,
right?
But it's always been like just one single one in the middle, like rocking back and forth, which to me like was very weird. Like I would always like just look at it and see it, like one rocking back and forth, probably like 2 or 3 times. Or I would be up in my room and the air would be off, like windows closed, everything, and I would just hear them moving. And I know your sister has too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy debunkable. Is that the right term?
Yeah, let's use it. Debunkable.
Is debunkable even a word?
I like it. Let's make it one if it's not.
You know what I mean. You could probably easily debunk that.
Yeah.
But that's just one thing that I noticed.
And even... Oh, sorry, go ahead. I bet you're going to say what I was going to say. The evil eye, too, because I remember my sister had one.
Yes. That was very off-putting to me, and it only seemed to happen when your sister wasn't home.
So she had like an evil eye, and it was taped to the wall, right? When you were walking into her bedroom, it was just like a ceramic.
Was right above. I want to say above the light switch.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just taped. It was like that. I don't even know what it's called. It's so you don't nail things to the wall. It's like that really strong adhesive that comes off.
And it's not like it's that heavy to where it would just fall off, or after a while.
We had things in that apartment. We had pictures that probably weighed 2 or 3 pounds with that. We had decorations above the fireplace with that. We had so many other things that we used that for that have never given us an issue. And it's the same paint. It's not like it's different type of, surface. And I would just be in my room or in the kitchen, and I would hear it fall. And it would just fall right off of the wall.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I believe she was in Ohio, like, when it first started. And after, like, the 3rd time, I texted her, and I was like, listen, like, this, I'm going to put this on your desk because I don't want it to break.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she's like, shut up. I was like, yeah. And then my boyfriend does not like this shit at all. Like, it freaks him out.
Not even a little bit? I feel like, maybe he doesn't? No? Maybe we were talking about, okay. I remembered it differently. I thought he was, like, kind of into it, but...
He, like, is out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to watch movies about it. I don't want to read about it. Like, he just doesn't want something to do with it. But I looked at him, and I was like, do you know what this is a symbol for? Like, pointing to the evil eye. And he's like, no. And I'm like, this is a symbol of multiple cultures, you know. And it's supposed to keep you safe, like, ward off bad energy, evil spirits, like, you know, has different meanings in different ways, but when it boils down to it, that's what it's used for. And he's like, okay. I was like, okay, and it keeps, like, getting ripped off the fucking wall, like, and he's like, well, maybe this, man. I'm like, no, it's happened multiple times. So then one day I was at work and he texted me and he said this thing just flew off the wall. Like,
So he
it
texted you
landed
that?
like 2 feet out from where it was. Like, before, when it would just fall, it would fall like right to the ground.
Yeah.
When he found it, it was like 2 feet, like,
Oh, wow.
away from, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it makes it more creepy because it's just the symbol of what it stands for, and that's the one thing that would fall or, you know, get misplaced. So that was pretty off-putting. And then the other thing was when he and I were out of town, your sister texted him and said, "Are you guys home yet?" And we're like, "No." She's like, "There's like something moving around in your closet upstairs," because we had like a walk-in closet.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "It sounds like someone's moving boxes or something in there." And I just said, like, "There's nothing in there." And it's so funny she texted him and not me. Because he stuff. And he's just like, "Oh, you deal with this. I don't text her." So that was another thing that she heard. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, there wasn't really anything else that happened there.
And you just moved to Santa Clarita. So
Yes.
have you experienced anything, especially during quarantine, since you're home all the time now? Have you felt anything there?
So when I first moved here, I had a friend from Ohio come here, and she was like helping us move and stuff. And we were just sitting here like talking, and we looked up, and there was one blind moving, like the same thing.
Still.
And she's not like super into this shit, but she was just like, "That is really, really weird. You know, I've never seen like just one like sway like heavily back and forth, like not touching any other ones, like just one, like almost like a pendulum, like just
Right.
moving back and forth." So that was one thing. And then my dog was pretty small when we first came here, and she would just like look up and like just walk around like she was like looking at something, which was really weird, like almost like following something.
Yeah, because I feel like that's something that really creeps me out too, because dogs, so they say, can sense so much more stuff. So a lot of
Yeah.
times when they're staring at something, barking at the wall, it's like residual energy or something that they see.
Yeah, and it was like almost, she was like intelligently looking at something, walking towards it, like up and very focused. So that was another thing. And then lastly, this creeped Rory out too. When I was showering, I got out and, you know, like it fogs up the mirror. The last owner drew a cat with an upside down cross on its forehead on the mirror.
Wait, the last owner for the apartment you're in now?
Yeah.
When you went into that apartment, that's how it was? Or?
Well, so you know when you draw something on a fogged window and it disappears, but then when
Yeah.
it refogs, you can see it?
Right.
That's what they did.
Oh my god.
So when I got out of the shower, I looked at the mirror and there's like this, it looks like almost like a cartoon cat with an upside down cross on its forehead.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's really creepy.
Yeah.
So are you considering doing any like clearings, like house clearings, energy clearings? Because I know with different psychics and different things, they could kind of look into it more. Is it as bad as when you had the sleep paralysis, or you could just tell something's off?
It's nowhere near. It's nowhere near as bad as it was at all. But I could just sometimes like tell like that something's just off.
Yeah.
And like you said, during quarantine, I just spent a lot of time, all of my time inside, and I don't really watch so much TV. So I spent a lot of time just like on my phone, and I'll just hear knocks or like creaking, like someone's walking. And this building really isn't that old at all. And like, you know, buildings in California don't really go through any weather tearing or anything. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just like the apartment building in itself or if it's something, but like when it happens, like my stomach just drops. Like I'm just like, oh shit, like something's here.
Especially
So
for 3 different apartments now and for similar things to happen, like the blinds and all of that.
exactly. Um, I just, I don't know if it's, I don't necessarily feel scared like I did during like the sleep paralysis episodes. Like I don't feel intimidated or oppressed. I just feel like off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think once things calm down and we're both back out there, we should totally do some sort of clearing and try to see if we could, you know, bring in new, fresh energy.
Yeah, I tried to smudge with the. Remember, I bought the oh, refresh my memory. What's it called? The
That,
What's it
yeah,
called?
yeah, the Palo Santo, that little kit.
Yes. So I looked up and researched like the proper way to do it, and I listened to your episode, and I tried to do it again, but I just feel like I'm not like I don't know if it's because I don't have enough energy myself because I suffer from depression and anxiety pretty bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I'm always drained myself, so maybe I don't have enough energy or positive energy to, you know, bring what needs to be done. But I still feel like there's something.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of it goes with intention too. So it's kind of like if you feel like you can do it, you just can't doubt, which is hard sometimes because even when I'm doing stuff, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know, it
Yeah.
just doesn't feel like it worked. So we should, yeah, we'll definitely, let's try it together and we'll see if we can
Yeah, I
do
would
any of
love
that.
that.
And with all of the other places out in California, I feel like I said, once things calm down, I feel like we should go investigating. What are some other places that you've been to in, I guess, Ohio or California? Any notable like experiences at other like haunted locations or anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so in Ohio, the most popular one, I guess, is Mansfield Reformatory. I went there when I was about 21. It was like, it wasn't on Halloween, but it was like during the month of October. So they weren't doing the whole haunted house thing. They were more of doing like tours. And I didn't experience anything there necessarily, but something that I felt was, did you listen to Bridget's episode about, I can't remember what it was about, but they talked about Mansfield Reformatory when she went.
Yeah, so
And
I've been listening to a couple and I feel like that keeps coming up, Mansfield Reformatory. So I'm
yes, and when she was talking about like how she felt, I was like, "Oh my God, like that is exactly it." Like you feel like you're going to get shoved off of the raft, like of the rail, off the railing. Like you literally feel like you're going to be pushed. Like you know when you're like on a roller coaster and you feel like you're gonna fall off, like that pit in your stomach.
yeah.
That's what you feel, and it's like your adrenaline is just like pumping for no reason. Like when you go to an amusement park, obviously like you're riding rides, like you're having fun, you're in there and you're just like fight or flight.
And that's the worst feeling too. Like
Yes,
when your
you just
stomach
want
is.
to run.
So is it set up like to where you can? Is it like tours to where it's guided through, or did you guys get to explore like any of the different cells, or I guess um what did you find like a certain area the most active?
So they actually offer, I think, 2 or 3 different options. So you can either do like a guided tour, a self-guided tour, or a combination of both. I was with people who didn't want to necessarily investigate, so we just did the guided tour, and like it was like more of a like a history lesson, and they would talk about experiences or different things during it, but it was more over just like walking through it as a whole. And I can't really say exactly like if there's like a specific cell because we didn't get the opportunity to like go sit in one or whatever, but the one that sticks out the most in my head is just walking down, I don't know what they call it, like you know, like that thin it's like rafters almost in jails, in prisons.
Yeah, like
It's like,
alongside.
do you know what I'm talking about? People listening to this are probably gonna be like,
No, I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure. Like outside of each cell, it's like a walkway kind of thing.
yes, but it's not like cement. Like you could look through it, like all the way down to the bottom.
Okay.
And when you're walking down, like the higher you go, like you just feel, I think it was like the second floor. I can't remember exactly. You just, I'm telling you, like if you ever go, you'll probably feel it too. You just feel like someone's going to grab you by your shoulders and just throw you over. That's all I remember feeling.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And there, I mean, it's probably the combination of just like so much bad energy in one place. Like, how can you even feel anything other than that, you know?
Exactly. Everything's stuck there. And even for people listening at home, Mansfield Reformatory, it's in Mansfield, Ohio, which is a little bit north of Columbus, but it was used in like a ton of different movies. It's a beautiful building, right? Like the outside is just incredible. I haven't been there. I'm kind of mad because everything that I want to do while I'm home is closed, and it's crazy. I don't know, a lot of these haunted locations wouldn't have that much foot traffic, but everything is still closed. So
you should look up different, there's a lot of things in Ohio that are just outside. Like there are certain cemeteries, I can't remember exactly their names, but if you look them up, they'll come up, and different bridges. I know there's one in Salem. There's a bridge in Salem that is known to be extremely haunted. If you like wanted to do like some type of investigating, there's definitely options outside that don't require any.
Yeah, I feel like we would need to explore these places together, because I've been wanting to go to the Indian Mounds, which are in like southern Ohio.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been there, or one place that I'm super afraid to go that I don't know. I've heard a couple people talk about it on different shows and stuff. Have you heard of the House of Wills outside of Cleveland?
You know what? Wasn't that? I think I watched an episode on like Ghost Adventures or something. I know. I think there was like a family there with children, and they experienced a bunch of stuff. If that's the house that I'm thinking of. I
think so. So it basically changed uses, like a lot of these haunted places did. Like it's been around for a while. And I think it's in East Cleveland, but at one point it was like a funeral home, but it's, I guess, massive. And recently I heard that it was bought by someone high up in the Church of Satan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And I guess people have gone in there and they said this was like the scariest place they've ever been. I don't think it's open for tours right now. I looked on their website. But I don't know. It's just some of the pictures, because they still have like coffins and like the way that the room was designed. It was originally built by, I think, like the Masons. So they had their own system.
Okay, this is not what I was thinking of. This is really interesting, actually.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just looking at the pictures, like I got the chills. It was crazy. And that's not even far from us. I feel like we have so much around us in Ohio, at least. But I don't know. It's pretty
Ohio is
scary.
So historical, like, and it has so many marks that are worth going to. I think we just never like took advantage of it.
Yeah, and you went on the Queen Mary, so tell me about your experience there.
Yeah, so as I said before, my boyfriend wants nothing to do with this stuff, but he surprised me with a tour of the Queen Mary, which was really unexpected and really nice of him. He did not have a good time, I don't think, but I loved every minute of it.
I feel like...
I wanted to go
sorry.
On.
No, I was going to say, I feel like the Queen Mary, because I went there too, I feel like that's a great like entry way, like ghost kind of thing to experience, because it's not, I mean, it is kind of creepy in the way that it's designed and how it's a lot older, but I feel like it's not as creepy as like going into like a funeral home or a haunted hospital or something like that. So
it's cool in the aspect of like you kind of feel like you're on the Titanic, because it's the Titanic sister.
Yeah.
So like it looks like the movie was filmed there. It's like an eerie type of feeling because of that, on top of everything else. But yeah, it was super cool, and I wish I could have stayed the night. Like I wanted to like get the hotel that night, because it's a hotel now.
That's what I saw, that they have different rooms too that you can stay in.
Yeah.
And I know the most haunted one, I think room B, I think it's B340 is like the notorious one that they say that the most haunted stuff goes on in.
Yeah, so supposedly in that room, there was a guy that I think they said he drank poison, I want to say. I can't remember exactly, but The guy definitely either killed himself or was killed in that room.
Oh. Did you have any experiences other like when you guys were walking through at all, or just like even energy feeling?
Sadly, no, because I feel like there was a decent amount of people on the tour, and with people that were staying there. There was one guy carrying around a bottle of wine on the tour. He was absolutely hammered. It was funny, but like there were certain moments where like I wanted to take it all in. Like I've been wanting to go to Queen Mary since I was 9 years old, and I just wanted to be like, dude, be a little bit respectful, and you can't really like focus when you have so much going on around you. And our tour guide was a little bit animated. Like he was like super just like cartoonish almost. So
you were looking for more of like the nitty gritty, like the real stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Because I feel like I'm just like talking and talking and talking. But I just feel like if I was with different people, I would have been able to like almost let my sensitivity open up.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely cool. I didn't want to leave.
We're gonna have to go back and do our own adventure just because it was my sister's so close now to the Queen Mary.
Yeah, she's literally right there.
Yeah. And when I went, I kind of had the same experience with the guys being animated. I thought they were super knowledgeable. It was awesome. But one of the guys toward the end of the tour, he made a comment saying that I forget what it is. Basically, he was like, I saw this one shadow, or he had this one experience that he hasn't had before, and a part of me like really believed him because it didn't fit what like the character I guess he was kind of playing earlier. So a part of me was like, wow, I think he did. I think he's being like legit about having this experience. But then a part of me wasn't sure if it was still part of the act. So I feel like if we go, we'll have to definitely come up with our own experiences.
Yeah, and actually the night I was there, Ghost Adventures was there.
No way. Night. Oh, you did tell me that, yeah. So
while we were like getting ready to start our tour, the camera crew went by, and then I noticed, and for everyone listening, don't make fun of me, I love Zach Bagans, and I love Ghost Adventures, and I always have, and I'm not going to stop. And you can tell me that it's fake and staged, I don't care, I don't believe you. So I noticed the camera crew, it was like whatever, like it's the Queen Mary, of course, like they're probably filming something. But then we were waiting to go to the next like part of the tour, and we weren't allowed to keep going. And our instructor was like, sorry, we can't continue because Zach Bagans is in the next room. And everyone else was just like, who? And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean right now, Zach? Let me in there. And it was crazy. Like, you could hear him like pounding on the walls, like screaming, like challenging the spirits and stuff.
Where were they investigating? Which room?
We were waiting to go like down where the boilers were.
Oh, okay.
So I think he was down there, or like maybe in like the next part. It was just, I think maybe, and I don't know like how this shit properly works, but like maybe since Ghost Adventures was there also, while we were there, like they were conjuring all the spirits like on their end, so we didn't really experience anything.
They took all of the spirits.
Yeah.
Gotta share them.
But I know he did stay in room B34 or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that would be cool, even to see it as part of the tour, because I remember we went, like, you obviously can't just walk in because people stay there. And the pool area was closed off, and I heard that's like a super, someone said it was like a portal, an energy portal or something. Like there's a lot of weird stuff going down in the pool area.
Yeah, supposedly that's where a little girl resides with a ball. I know that. I've heard that before. And there's another pool somewhere in LA that is also supposedly a portal. It's like abandoned.
Yeah, that stuff.
I'm gonna have to look up and see where it's at.
We'll have to do a completely different episode on like portals and stuff because that it really interests me. And I heard one that there's like in Pasadena and Griffith Park has like an energy portal.
And a lot of times it's surrounded by water.
Yeah.
Like, or mirrors, like water and mirrors.
I forget, I think it's Patty Negri who's on Ghost Adventures. In her book, it said something like, I think she referred to mirrors as spirit highways.
Oh, that's an interesting
And I
way to
thought
look
that
at
was,
it.
yeah, I never heard of that before, and I thought that was so cool. That if you put like two mirrors together facing
Each other.
it's like a spirit highway.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, well,
yeah.
One last question that I have for you. So this is, I don't know, something I've been like super interested in during quarantine. What are your thoughts on, and this isn't exactly supernatural, it's more like cryptozoology, but like aliens, Bigfoot, what do you make of it? Because I feel like I'm in like this downward spiral right now of like researching all this stuff on the internet.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not big on like cryptids, like Bigfoot and stuff. I definitely think that there are things on this planet that we haven't discovered yet, like in the ocean. But with Bigfoot, I don't know. I never really like, there's never been anything that like defied it for me. Like, yeah, it's real. But then again, I don't live in areas where that was like really prominent, you know?
Yeah.
What else?
With
Like,
aliens,
what have you been looking into?
specifically, I've just been researching on like a lot of stuff, a little bit with Area 51, but there's a lot of information out there about it's called the Dulce base, which is in New Mexico. It's like the northern tip of New Mexico, and it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere, but they say that underneath there, it's like 8, 9, 10 stories of like the secret underground operations, and that they have like aliens down there, and that they have all of these like high speed trams that connect to like underneath the Denver airport and Area 51.
You know
and
what?
it's all
I
of this
think I
like,
listened to a podcast that covered this. There was, God, I'm gonna have to look him up, and then text you so you can look into him. There's this guy who claimed that his dad worked there and brought him there when he was little, and like used him as like a test rabbit almost.
yeah,
Like to travel.
I know. Yeah, with like they have traveling like on these high speed trains, and then they said something about there's like time travel machines. So
Yes.
I don't believe a lot of this stuff, but I feel like it's interesting, so that's where I kind of get I'm I don't know, it's hard to kind of make me believe it, but I like to like learn about it and see what people theorize.
Oh, it's easy to go down a rabbit hole for
Yeah.
sure. But like my like input on it is I think that there's like obviously so many things that this government is doing that we will never know about. I think that aliens are for sure known about. I mean, I think Congress, or maybe not Congress, but some part of the government just admitted that, unidentified objects do exist. I think that was last month.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that's like step one. That's like, okay, finally, like we're acknowledging this. I think step two is like maybe letting us know to what extent that they exist.
Right.
But I also think that, and I think I told you this before, and this is like my theory of some form of alien life. I think that some aliens are just humans from the future practicing time travel.
Yeah, which that I feel like can completely like throw off everything.
So you know how like we've evolved from cavemen to the human beings we are right now. And imagine a caveman seeing one of us. We would look like an alien, right? So, maybe if we keep evolving into something else and get smarter and create more technology, i.e. time travel, if we see our future selves, like we might not recognize our own species.
That's so true.
Because, I mean, look at the direction of where we're going right now. Like, if you go back 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, like, and I'm not making this political, I'm making it like matter of fact, gender has always been black and white. But where we're going today is we're recognizing, you know, they, their, and them. And that's what aliens are said to be. Like, they're not gender, like, they're genderless.
Right. It's like,
so who knows? Like, now that we're finally recognizing that realm of everything, like, it could keep evolving, and maybe we won't have genders in 2,000 years.
Yeah. Ooh, it's exciting. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki. I had so much fun talking with you.
I love this.
We have so much to look forward to. I feel like this even gives us more adventures now.
We'll definitely have to check out some stuff while I'm home.
Yeah, I'm down. And we'll have to, we'll do a follow-up episode. We'll see what's going on with maybe later in quarantine, or if you come up with anything else here too.
Or when we come back, we could do an episode while we cleanse my apartment.
Yeah, we have a lot to do, a lot to experience.
Yes, we need to make a list.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much. I had the best time talking with you. We covered a lot of different interesting topics, so I'm so happy that you could join us.
Me too.
So if you want to share any of your contact information, or if anyone has any questions, how can our listeners reach out to you?
So I am on Instagram, and it is @_NIKKIMOORE. And then if you guys don't have Instagram, Facebook, Nikki Moore, you can probably go on Timmy's, or whichever platform works better for you. Instagram's probably the best.
Yay. Well, thank you again. I'm looking forward to all of our adventures, and I'll see you soon.
Yes. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.